Rob.
I'm just gonna go ahead and start because when I watch these things back, I just watch to check and see what's going on. Like if I've messed up the sound or whatever. When I watch them back, if I just let that thing play by itself and then start talking, in real time with me and you, um, there's a delay in the playback where everyone is just sitting there stupidly looking at the screen for like 4 or 5 seconds. So I'm just gonna start talking dead in the middle of it and see if that changes anything.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Hey everyone, welcome. It's content. It's Saturday night. We are Dio-less tonight. He's not quite feeling well, but neither is Zach, our guest. He's a trooper today. He's joining us to talk about his new comic campaign coming up, and also just to fill us in on his other stuff that he's done. He's done quite a few that I noticed, but as usual, we're going to get into first of all. Zach, how are you? What is your comic history? Where'd you come from? Where'd you first comic love, and how did it grow to where you are?
Well, my first comic was probably a Golden Age Superboy. I think my grandma had like an old dusty box of like Golden Age superhero comics. And so I have a love for like the weird 50s comics. But yeah, I'm a 90s kid, so I guess like my first graphic novel was The Death and Return of Superman. Well, first The Death of Superman, and then The Return of Superman. Which I guess that's not like a great time to come in, but like I think that when you're young and impressionable, like the quality of a thing doesn't like when you're like 7, 8, 9 years old, it's like, I'm sure if I reread that stuff now, it would be not great because I know it's not looked at. In fact, I mean, I've read Dan Jurgens stuff now. I'm not the biggest fan. I definitely like John Byrne's Superman run. Significantly more. Well, it's more of like kind of based on like what I grew up with. It was like the cartoon. A lot of the like Bruce Timm's like cartoons are based on that run. So I was like, Batman the Animated Series was also like very big when I was a kid, so I watched that a ton, and the Superman the animated series as well.
Yeah. The Batman the Animated Series. About how old were you when you were watching those? Like, and did you watch like from the beginning? Were you like, oh, I saw the very first?
No. It must have been the Adventures is probably when I started. I mean, I've seen the whole series because I have it on Blu-ray, but I think it was coming out in like 91 or 92 or 93, and I wouldn't have really watched it probably until 96 and 97, maybe 95.
Yeah, I think it came out. I think, boy, I was in like 9th grade, maybe a little bit younger, but might have been too old to be watching cartoons. But I'm still watching cartoons, so like whatever.
So yeah, did you enjoy? Yeah, because I was watching cartoons when I was in 9th grade, but I was more watching the cartoons that I had grown up with, and then like stuff that came out. I think when I was in probably 9th and 10th grade, there was like Ben 10 and things like that, and I was like, I'm not so interested in that. But I liked the things that I had grown up with, like, I mean, it's older, but like Scooby Doo and like, so I would still just watch those. Like, when I was in high school.
When I was a kid, it was and I know like most of the stuff was terrible, like your GI Joe. I mean, GI Joe's not terrible, but like the cartoons weren't like top notch animation. Like I'll still watch the hell out of them because GI Joe is like one of my all-time favorite things. But like I was more attracted still to the Warner Brothers. Like the Looney Tunes are all-time favorite thing in my life. Like you know, the only reason I don't have like a tattoo of them is because you know that period of time in the 90s when people
Tweety
started
Bird.
wearing like or wearing the shirts with like bugs with the backwards
Oh,
hat and stuff.
that's like my culture. That's like a San Antonio thing for sure. Like a Tweety Bird tattoo with like a big Taz shirt that's like 3 sizes too big. That
Yeah.
was definitely a thing that I grew up in the thick of for sure. Yeah.
But Batman, Batman the Animated Series was definitely I ran home from school to make sure I caught that.
Nice.
Yeah, but and then you know, as it progressed, you know, the Superman and then the Justice League. I think I kind of fell off a little bit during the Justice League cartoon, but
it was good, but I just didn't. I was also older too when that was coming out, and it was like it was coming on at a time where I was like playing football or doing like pursuing other things.
I probably had like my wife probably told me to stop or something. I don't know. But anyway, so from there, reading comics and stuff, was it an instant, you know, oh, I want to do this and I'm going to start making comics?
No. Well, when I was very little, like I was making comics, like drawing comics, you know, when I was very young, you know, like 6, 7, 8 or whatever, I was, you know, trying to draw comics. But no, I mean, when I was older, like when I was in high school, I wrote a novel. When I was in college, I wrote a novel. So I kind of was wanting to be more of a novelist. But the things like the story types that I felt like I'm like more gravitated to are a little bit more visual, and I definitely didn't have the chops to like write like a proper novel when I was writing novels. So I have a handful of professionally published short stories, prose short stories. But as time went on, you know, I would make pitches for comics. Like I got really into comics when I was in college, and after college, and so I was reading a lot of comics, and then I was also like, when I was in about 2010, I made like a proper pitch, and then that fell off for 7, 8 years, and then came back. I ended up selling an option of short stories, which eventually became Spellslinger. But yeah, there were prose short stories, and then part of the option agreement was to write like a series Bible and like TV and film type stuff. And I'm like, I watch enough film, but I'm not like watching a ton of TV. So I'm like not really cut out for that. So eventually that kind of transition, I was like, well, what about a comic book? And they're like, yeah, well, like write a comic book. That's what you feel more comfortable with. So that's how Spellslinger started. And that's where I cut my teeth on Spellslinger, even though it came out more recently than other stuff. It just took a long time to create. And one sec, I have a copy of that.
Now, Spellslinger is a later one from, but your first one that you put out was House of Blood, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, but technically written after Spellslinger.
Yeah, written mostly after, but some of it was written during the tail end, chapter 4, the final chapter. I mean, I basically I didn't know what I was doing when I was writing Spellslinger. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing when I was writing House of Blood, but it's easier to write a short story that's like kind of free form because you're not restricted when you're writing for like a mini series for comics. It's like you have to be formulaic in that it has to be 20, 24 pages, and you have to hit certain beats by certain times for it to be like basically like a functioning comic, and for people to want to like pick it up in a store. So I didn't know that when I was writing Spellslinger. I mean, I think like the first issue this was serialized for one issue, and then the publisher went out of business. But the first like chapter / issue is like 29 pages, and then the second one's like 32, and so it's like it doesn't. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to like be like, oh well, you're supposed to do this. Not that you can do whatever you want. Like you can do whatever length that you want. And I'm sure maybe someone, or you can self-publish it like me. Like House of Blood is just whatever length I felt like making short stories at.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, because like I'm trying to write a comic now, and like getting the those beats, it's like, okay, you have to you start with a big scene, attention grabbing, and you got to make sure that there's an action, some sort of action going on at this point, and then that wrap it up. You have an overarching story where this is your big end, but you still have to have a little big end here and here and
here. Everything has to be like a cliffhanger, and it's but yeah, I mean that was basically, by the time I did A Haunting on Mars, like I kind of had that structure in mind for that series. Like I was like, I want to do something that is like publishable, like in a traditional way, like as a mini series. And then, I mean, it got published by Scout Comics, and then we had a falling out, and then I kickstarted the whole thing and did all the issues myself.
So how many of your comics have been crowdfunded?
I think I've done like 6 crowdfunding. Like I did this one. This is not crowdfund. Well, I ran a Kickstarter to do the print run. But this was not funded by the crowdfunding. And then A Haunting on Mars, like I basically paid up front for the art. And then same thing with Dino Knights. Like I've been taking all of the A Haunting on Mars Kickstarter funds and putting them into like Dino Knights and Kaiju Blues and like the other comics. So I mean, I used to basically, like, I had double income and no kids when I was making A Haunting on Mars and all this stuff. And then now that I have 2 kids, I'm basically using the Kickstarter monies from other projects that I already done to fund the next, or at least the art for the next one. So
I think there's a lot of guys doing that sort of thing. Basically, it's a passion project. It's a you're not like, oh, I'm gonna make millions of dollars. I just want to get the next one out. I want to get that next story. I want and that's why I like the scene, because these guys are doing it because they really, really want to do it,
Yeah, I'm totally DIY for sure. Like I'm basically like, I don't know. I might even be so much as to say like anti-publisher. Like, I've had multiple publishers now that I feel like they don't do anything like that I can't do myself other than distribution, and now I have distribution, so the thing is they do large print runs, but at this point it's like if I do a big enough Kickstarter and it gets enough funding, then I can do a big enough print run to justify the distribution of comic shops. So we'll see.
All right, let's get into your campaign then and talk about Dino Knights.
Cool. So
I was taking a look at it, earlier on X and stuff, and very, very much like you were talking about the '90s cartoons. Very much has that feel. That.
Sorry. It has an animation. It has a theme song, actually. y'all can check out that theme song. I'm not gonna play it right now because I don't want to play it on these speakers. But yeah, so Dino Knights, it's a science fiction Arthurian fantasy with dinosaurs, knights, a ton of time travel, more robots, and I'm going for like an ongoing series. So
Hmm.
this first Kickstarter is going to be the first 2 issues, and then I'm trying to like roll out issues 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 before the end of the year. So I'm
Oh,
going
nice.
like right into the next issues as soon as this is funded. But yeah, it's a time travel story. It's about dinosaurs from the far, far future. They're like in this kind of feudal, like knight style, uh, like dying Earth. They're like from like billions of years in the future on Earth,
Yeah.
and 4 of the hatchlings get sent back in time, and they're at war basically with this thing called the Techno Tribe, which is like this AI that's trying to destroy all life on Earth. And they're the ones that are trying to protect the Earth from the threat of the Techno Tribe. But yeah, that's kind of like the gist of it. They own uh, a board game shop in Queens called Kings Games, and they sell board games. And
So I have a question about that. And then story wise, do people just accept them there, or did they decide to open that board game shop to be like, yeah, we're just cosplayers?
yes, it's like, hey, we're just cosplayers, and that's actually like their best friend is like, it's like a will she, won't she, like find them out, like that doesn't get resolved until it doesn't get resolved
Yeah, yeah.
quite yet. But yeah, they have they basically sell board games, and like the patrons there think that they're like animatronics. So
Yeah.
yeah,
We got John's Longbox in the chat saying, "Hey, hey,
what's
John, how
going
you
on?
doing?" Yeah, like I said earlier, though, this is it very much looks like it could have fit right in with the turtles and uh, battle toads and everything that was going on back in the '90s, early '90s. Were you shooting for that feel?
Oh, for sure. Like that that was definitely the goal for this series, to feel like a Saturday morning cartoon, but
Hmm.
I'm also going for like a bit more of like a new wave science fiction. Like there's time travel, there's a lot of weird, I'm a big fan of Philip K. Dick, so
Hmm.
I'm trying to push the weirdness in the storytelling, and like the science fictiony themes,
Nice.
uh, a little bit more than perhaps like a Saturday morning cartoon would.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So that it won't it'll appeal to kids, just on the face of it, but other people, adults can read it and be like, oh, there's deeper issues. There's thought, philosophy, and whatever built in.
yeah, for sure. And it's also kind of like an epic. Uh, it's also kind of an epic like story. I want it to be ongoing, so there is like weird um, science fiction things happening. Like for instance, one of the weird things is like their best friend. She drinks this potion, and it, but on accident. That um, their mentor made to like try to like figure out where this kind of holy grail thing is.
Hmm.
And basically like every time she watches a movie, she sees a movie from like a parallel timeline. And she works at the movie theater, so it's like adds this like she basically confuses like everyone. She's like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Like she's seeing things that never entered like our timeline, like Jodorowsky's Dune, you know. Like so she's
Yeah, yeah.
she's seeing that actual movie, she's seeing like OJ as the Terminator instead of Arnold, whenever she's watching stuff. So yeah. Anyway, so there's like weird kind of science fiction elements.
Nice.
And then so I have I'm doing physical bundles. I'm doing like 2 tracks on like what you can purchase. This is like the first actual preview of like what the campaign page is going to look like.
Okay.
So you can get the first 2 issues for $20. I think it's $5 shipping. You can get the first 2 and their variants and a poster set for $49. And then you can get all of that plus House of Blood. And then you can also get all of that plus A Haunting on Mars 1 through 5. But I don't have like a ton of those, so that is limited.
The that $20 are they just the regular floppy size?
Yeah. So it's basically $10 an issue.
Nice.
And then digital bundles are available as well, 1 and 2 for 10. And then I have a subscription because I'm doing these 3, 4, and 5 and 6 this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have like a subscription option where you can get the other issues a day early. Well, not I guess it'd be 31 days early.
Yeah.
And so you can subscribe basically and get issues 3 and 4 in the fall and 5 and 6 in the winter of this year.
Nice.
And that's $39. So basically, yeah. And it comes with some other goodies, and then I have like an all access, which this is like, I think this is like 500 something pages of comics for $99. So, and that has A Haunting on Mars, House of Blood, The Spellslinger, and all of Dino Knights as they come out. So yeah.
I mean,
and then this is like, I get into like House of Blood. That's like my anthology horror stuff. Spellslinger, it's like a cowboy. He casts spells out of his revolver, hunts demons. It's kind of like a murder. It starts off like a murder mystery, but then it turns into like kind of like eldritch epic horror. And then A Haunting on Mars is like a cyberpunk ghost story. And Kaiju Blues is a slice of life superhero comic. So, and then I have like, people can download basically the first issues of each of those as a preview to see, what I'm all about. And then I'm bringing back metal covers. So I don't know if you've seen my metal covers before. I can go grab one.
Let's see.
Yeah, so metal covers. These are like fully functioning.
See if I can make it bigger here. Hold on. There we go.
So this is nice. Not a foil. This is a fully metal comic book, and it's functional. So these are going to be available as add-ons. And I'm going to have one for each cover.
Yeah, that looked really cool. Okay. When you say bringing metal covers back, were there metal?
Oh, sorry, like metal covers back from my previous campaigns.
Oh, okay.
I did, metal covers on. Yeah, no, I think they're like definitely a new thing.
Yeah, there was a period of time where I wasn't paying attention to comics all that much, but I was like, oh, is that when that happened?
Yeah, no, I don't think they're a very big thing.
Yeah, I saw this page. You posted it on X, and then the other earlier, them sitting in the movie theater. Is there a lot of like fourth wall breaking?
Oh yeah, there's a ton. So basically, this character, he's not the main character, but he's the point of view character. He's like it's from he's the narrator, and he's like Mikey, or he's like he's very referential to nerd culture and he's more of the comedic relief.
Yeah.
So while he's not the main character, you get a lot of him because he's the one in the future that's like kind of narrating what's happening.
Yeah.
For basically the whole series, and yeah, so there's a lot of it's definitely humorous, and there's a lot of fourth kind of there's like a decent amount of fourth wall breaking.
Yeah. Is going to be an all age book as well?
I mean, I always say that all my stuff is all ages,
Okay.
depending on who's purchasing my comics. I'm like, oh yeah, they're suitable for you to give me money. So, I mean, yeah, there's not like a bunch of cursing. There's a little bit of blood, but yeah, like you can see, it's like, I'm referencing Star Wars in like the very first line of the comic. And this is that character's narration.
Yeah, and they're all brother type characters, and they have their personality. I said, like when they're talking about your other books, there's definitely personality, traits there that you could see.
Yeah,
and I like that. It's like if you're looking for that kind of Saturday, like you said, Saturday morning feel, you want to be able to see which one's the smart one, which one's
Yeah, so they are very distinct in that they are very distinct characters. The first incarnation of the Turtles, like they were kind of all the same in the comic, at least for the first couple of issues before they like started kind of differentiating themselves. But like from the start of the series, this is my character. Is the main character. His name's Archie. He is actually separated from them. So when they get sent back, he gets sent back to actual Arthurian times. And these three, they all grow up with each other. And so they get sent back to like New York City with their mentor, whose name's Meryl, who's basically like she's an Archaeopteryx that's basically the pet of where is she? Here she is. She's like a wizard, so she's like Merlin. She's actually like, if you're paying attention, spoilers, she's Merlin's like pet Archaeopteryx. But there's like I haven't gotten into that yet, but you can see that he, instead of having like a Archimedes owl on his shoulder, he has in the first issue, he has this Archaeopteryx, which is her. But that's just for your streamers. So that's the inside scoop.
Yeah, it's a fun idea. I just definitely artwork style definitely caught my eye. It's very fun. Who's your artist, and how'd you guys get connected?
It's Dave Schwartz. He's really good. He did a cover for A Haunting on Mars, and I really liked his style. He like went above and beyond for the cover. Like I wrote this insane thing. I was like, I want it to be in the middle of a city, and they're like being attacked by zombies, and then they're also being attacked by like cyborgs and dogs. And he threw all of that in that cover. It's hidden somewhere in my junk. Yeah. But so he killed that cover, and he was looking for work, and I had this idea brewing for a while. Because there's a lot of lore with this setting. So it was like I had to build up, like, because it takes place in so many different time periods. It was a lot of work up front to get the setting down. But yeah, I sent him that, and he definitely killed it. So he's the artist on issues 1 and 2, and then we have other artists on the upcoming issues.
Yeah.
So yeah. So and I also, that was another like goal of mine with this series, was to make a book that, in case like an artist like couldn't keep up with my pace. Like I could work with multiple artists, and I think that you know, a a T-Rex in armor is like a T-Rex in armor. Like it's not gonna like, you know, depending on the artist's style, it's not gonna be confusing to readers to go. And then if you look at the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle run, they go through artists like all the time. On that run. So, and it's never like confusing. So that was another goal of mine too with this series.
And like you said, it's a dinosaur in armor, as opposed to when you're, you got someone who you like the way they draw Punisher, and then someone else comes on and they draw Punisher, and it's not the same. And, I don't think it's going to be quite as much of a shock because
yeah, it's like this guy. This is a Triceratops. You're not going to be you're not going to be confusing the difference between a Triceratops.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Is it are they all going to be fairly cartoonish in their styles, or what if someone comes in and they're leaning super like realistic? Are you going to be like, well, let's tone that down?
Yeah. So no, I mean they're all fairly like cartoony. Like this is one of the artists that's upcoming, Sergei Titov, and this is. I mean, I'd love to work with this artist Marco Itri again. It's definitely more like of a serious take, but this is just a cover. But yeah, I might. I mean, I might work with someone who does it like more serious. Like if the other thing is like I want to have I kind of want to be able to have this be a sandbox. And so like if I want to do like a very dark tone, if it's like if you've been with a series for like 10, 15 issues and then it goes dark, like you're not going to be like, I mean, that happens in a lot of comics and people really like it. Like it happens in Invincible. It goes, it's like the first 5, 6 issues are like pretty boilerplate, like
coming of age.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well now it's like graphically violent and like death and stuff. So I'm definitely not ruling that out.
Well, as I mentioned it, I started thinking like that might actually be pretty cool for a single issue where maybe it takes place back more in the Arthurian times, and so it's like a black and white, grittier, more realistic, photorealistic looking dinosaur characters. That might be a pretty cool thing. Thing to see.
Yeah, I have one of the covers for issue 3, which I haven't. That's actually not on this campaign page. It is more. The cover is more gritty and realistic. The Archie character, like he looks more like a T-Rex, and he's like cutting through, like violently cutting through, like all these robots. And that art is by Rafa Labasco, who I've worked with several times. He did the first House of Blood story.
That I did get to read that one. I think I'm about 3 stories in. What are there, 4 or 5?
Yeah, there's 13 short stories. In this there's 13 short stories. I think online I limit it.
Oh yeah, okay, but I got through. I'm pretty sure 3 of them.
Awesome.
I'm getting to read comics I wish I had way more time, but I don't.
Yeah, so you were reading my horror stuff, and that's definitely a different route than this. Like I mean, my horror stuff too. It's like not like it's like super graphic or mature. I mean, I guess I wouldn't call it all ages, but if a kid's trying to buy it, I would sell it. To them. I sell to basically anyone that is willing to buy at my tables. And when people ask, "Oh, is this appropriate for a kid?" I'm like, depends on your
Yeah.
parenting style. I was reading Stephen King at in before middle school, so
Yeah.
you know.
I don't I didn't from what I read, there wasn't anything that was over the top. There was no gore, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
or uh, yeah. So yeah, I could see it, hand into like a 13-year-old pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause I remember, what 13 and looking at Fangoria, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But so I read your stuff on Global Comics. Are you gonna be putting anything else on there, and b where else can people find besides Global Comics, and get into the Kickstarter? Can they find your stuff?
Well, the easiest way is through Kickstarter, which is going to launch in June 3rd. This Kickstarter should be launching June 3rd. That's the easiest way to get my stuff. Um, I think I have a website in my link tree where you can buy stuff. But a lot of my stuff sold out. I do have, I guess I do have a couple. I have like 4 copies of Spellslinger. I do at some point want to reprint this. I got a ton of House of Blood. So that's yeah. And this is chunky. This is like 150 pages. It's
Yeah, nice.
um, but
What I read was very good. Like that, it was very Twilight Zoney, and dark. Yeah, it was good stuff.
awesome. Thanks. Yeah,
Um,
I guess I kind of write I kind of write horror. I was talking to someone recently where I was like, my approach to horror is very similar to my approach to science fiction. And so when you say like Twilight Zone, that's like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
like, I love Twilight Zone.
yeah, nice. I wish Dio had been here because he's a big horror fan. Are you a horror movie fan?
Yeah, I'm more of a horror movie fan. I mean, I like what I tend to read is like science fiction novels, but I like horror movies quite a bit. I recently watched The Substance, and I like that. And I rewatched Heretic, and I enjoyed that too.
Yeah, I don't not enjoy horror movies. Like anytime I watch one, I'm like, that's pretty good. Unless it's lousy. But that's a different issue. But I don't actively go to watch them. Every once in a while, stepson will be like, "Oh, you got to watch this movie," and I'll watch it, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." But I'm not like, what if I'm scrolling, I don't tend to pause on the horror movies to watch them.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's kind of like my go-to would be horror, probably.
Yeah, I think mine would be movies I have not watched yet, but I think I need to, because I've come to realize that I have not watched a lot of movies that are kind of must-watch movies. I just last year watched Die Hard.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. But
Yeah, I mean now that I have kids, it's like it's very hard for me to watch anything. So yeah, but I was on a kick like during the pandemic to watch like the movies that I hadn't seen or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
You know, uh but now
So
it's like I will watch. I mean, maybe we get to watch. Oh yeah, I ended up watching Friendship, which I thought was pretty fun. I rarely go to the movies now.
is that with that Tim Robbins?
Yeah,
Is that his name?
yeah, right. Tim Robinson, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, and something like that. I think I just mentioned it. What Tim Robbins is an older actor, but
Yeah.
but yeah, and Ant-Man.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I enjoyed it. It was solid. It could have been a little bit better, but I mean, it was pretty good.
Is it just a comedy, or is there like a suspense kind of thing going on?
No, it's not so much a suspense thing. It's like it's a comedy, but there's also like a little bit of drama too.
Okay.
And it's a little surreal too. There's like actually a lot of surreal stuff that happens in it, but that's kind of that guy's humor.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I don't know what I saw early on when I started seeing stuff about it. I thought it would be like a cable guy.
It kind of is like a cable guy, but it's I feel like this it's not as suspenseful. I mean, it kind of actually there is a little bit of suspense, but
Hmm.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
um,
And I don't know. I honestly don't know if the cable guy was that suspense. I don't remember.
yeah, it's been a long. I haven't seen it, but the cover makes it look like it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But all right, we will make sure we remind everyone, and I do have the links pinned in the chat and in the description for the Kickstarter. So if anyone wants to go and check that out, go and hit the link, and we'll get, like I said, we'll get back to those when we're done. But first, I'm going to ask the big question. Actually, it's three, but let me find my little thing here. We ask our guests some questions to get to know them a little bit better, and see if we can learn uh, from that. If this is someone whose comics we'd like to read, someone I can connect with, because that's a big part of why you read things is connection, human connection. So, first thing we're going to get to is our comic question. We try to do a comic question every time, and I wish I just thought of this question a couple hours ago, and I wish I'd had longer to think about it, because I don't know if my answer is if I have a good answer. But anyways, here it goes. Back in September 1994, Image did a giant crossover event where artists and creators would switch with another artist and creator and do their comic. You had Jim Lee working on the Savage Dragon, Eric Larson was doing Wildcats, Jim Valentino was on Youngblood, while Rob Liefeld was on Shadowhawk, and Mark Silvestri did Spawn, and Todd McFarlane was on Cyberforce during that time. I did notice something when I was reading, trying to remember who did what, but Silvestri and McFarlane are the only guys who continue to write. So they wrote their own continuing story, but just had the other guy draw it. Whereas all the other ones, they, the whole team took over for that issue. So Jim Lee wrote, and who was forget who the co-writer was, but they wrote the whole story. And
So it was just for like one issue or one arc?
Just one issue.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, though, with the Savage Dragon, it was number 13, and that same month, Eric Larson put out Savage Dragon number 13 because he didn't consider that anything. He did had
like
that
that's
wasn't
not
part
canon.
of the yeah. So, but the question is if you were to get in this indie sphere one artist to draw for one issue someone else's book, which would it be? And maybe even take over like the whole thing for one issue, write it and everything, but in particular, our artwork.
Okay, so I would like to see well, not artists, but I would like to see Dennis Camp write like take over for I don't know, like Transformers, like for like an issue. I like to see what he would do with the Transformers issue.
Yeah.
I think that could be cool, and also probably also the Void Rivals. They're doing like a whole. They have like this whole GI Joe
Yeah.
universe. Like I think Dennis Camp would do something crazy with that. And then as far as artists, I mean, they have such great artists on it right now. Like the artists are really really good. But you were saying GI Joe. I mean, it would be interesting to see Daniel Warren Johnson draw a GI Joe like the Luke book.
Yeah,
like that would be sick.
I mean, it'd be good to see him on just about anything because
I know. I'm just like thinking like one of my favorite artists. Like, oh yeah, put Daniel Warren Johnson on the book.
Well, I mean, I don't.
I would like to see Daniel Warren Johnson do Battle Cat or the new Otley.
Oh yeah, the
It's called Battle Cat, right? Am I crazy?
I see it in my head, but I can't think of it.
Am I crazy? I think it's Battle Cat.
But it's spin off from Invincible, right?
Yeah.
It's a Battle Cat. But
am I being an idiot? Yeah, it's like, why am I missing that? Anyway, yeah, that book that came out last week. It came out
yeah,
last week.
and it's
My buddy
everywhere.
got issue 2 because you know how like they were doing like the cover the bags like the mystery bags.
Yeah,
He got an issue 2 in one of his
nice.
mysteries, which is dope. So he's like he has issue 1 and 2.
Yeah, I've seen some people opening theirs. It's all the same. They're all getting like this is great. Yeah, sure. But yeah, issue 2, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about like I said, I was trying to think about who I'd like to see do what, but I think the guy who does now I can't remember the name of the artist or the comic Ultra Mega.
James Herron.
I
think it's James Herron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him doing it'd have to be something where that over the top violent style, like it would fit, but like maybe on Transformers with because their styles are not too dissimilar. They're very much their own, but big action, big movement. That might be something to see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I love that artist. Really good.
Yeah. I also wouldn't mind seeing any of these guys who are out nowadays go back and do a Wildcats or a Spawn or any of those.
Yeah. I would like to see like well, I think that I think they're doing a Wildcats book right now, but I would like to see like something crazy like Ed Brubaker Wildcats. I think that might be cool. What like Ed Brubaker Wildcats with like because he was doing like Sleeper, which is like I think in that universe. I don't know. I think it's in that universe, and that book is phenomenal. And I don't know. I think his take would be sick.
Nice. Yeah. Like I said, I wish I had more time to think about it today. Apparently we're all having a day of it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to these last 2 questions pretty quick, so you can get yourself some rest and start feeling better. But here's that question: did you ever take part in a school talent show, or I could guess it'd be a play or one of those types of things?
Oh. I don't think I ever did. I don't think I ever did. I mean, I remember them, but I was a singer of a ska band for 2 days. I got let go. Let's see. I mean, I played football in high school, so that was that took up most of my extracurricular time.
Yeah. Did you like
just video games?
Yeah. Did you
Football,
like in elementary school? Did your school have that thing where every kid in the 6th grade had to stand up and sing? Dinah. Something's in the kitchen with Dinah.
I don't think so.
No.
I
remember.
I
remember
think we had that.
Yeah, I remember very. We would have these. Every kid in 6th grade would have to stand up and sing whatever the a medley of patriotic songs or whatever. And I'm an introvert, like deep introvert. That is the worst thing that could happen, is to stand up in front of a bunch of people and
I remember having to do that, but much younger. Which I think is a little bit easier. But when you're younger, I think you don't associate that. Well, at least for me. But I do remember doing that in like 1st grade, kindergarten. That era. I
Oh
mean, we
yeah, yeah.
did like dumb. I mean, it wasn't. I don't think it was like patriotic music. I think it was like dumb, weird Western,
Yeah.
like do si do type. She'll be coming around the mountain. I remember singing.
Yeah,
singing
yeah. I
uh,
got Chris Fisk asking about my finger. I had it's actually it's just fine. I had a couple months ago was chopping veggies and just
oof.
cut that tip off that end of that fingernail, and yeah, it was it was surprisingly, I think the knife was super super sharp because but I think that helped it to not hurt. It didn't sting for days and days and days. So
uh, similar stories. My dad, when he was young, he has this tiny scar, not very tiny, but thin scar on his hand, and he was grabbing a knife like this to test
mhm.
how sharp it was when he was like, I don't know, like 10 or 11. Someone gave him a pocket knife for his birthday.
Yeah.
He was testing it, and his brother yanked the.
Oh.
He said he just held his hand the whole time, and then when because his father was a doctor, and so they rushed him to the hospital. He opened his hand, they stitch it back, and he was like, the doctor who stitched it back was like, that was the cleanest cut that I've
Yeah.
ever stitched, because he just held it.
Brand new. Yeah, nice. Chris also says he had to sing in elementary school mainly patriotic songs. Yeah. I remember I had I don't remember if it was fifth or sixth grade, but they had the school talent show, and I had uh, four friends, maybe five, and they all decided, let's do uh, Guns N' Roses song. But
That's
no one
cool
knew
though.
no
That's
one knew
pretty
how to
cool.
play instruments
Oh
or
yeah,
anything. So they're like, we're gonna lip sync to Patience by Guns N' Roses.
that's
Um,
awesome.
and so um, me being part of the front group, but I didn't listen to Guns N' Roses. I was like, my mom was like all pop music, and like my dad was country.
Hmm.
But so but I was still part of the group, and they're like, well, you just pretend to play bass, and we'll do the rest. We'll be. Was it Duff? Was he the bass player? I think it was Duff.
Maybe, yeah.
But and so yeah, I guess I got to be Duff. But yeah, we practiced one time, and then went in front of the judges. It was like a table of teachers, and hit play. And I like I said, I didn't handle like embarrassment very well. I just died the whole time. And it's a long damn song, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was the only time talent show like thing ever. Ugh, yeah, I couldn't stand it. Like especially back then, I couldn't. Like now, I don't know if at some point, I think in my mid 30s, I stopped caring.
Yeah.
Like just like whatever. Now I'm to the point where if it belittles me, I enjoy it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I'm the same way. It's when the joke's on you, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially if they pull it off, they do it well. Welcome to the jungle, baby. You're gonna die.
Yeah, a couple.
But yeah, no. If you're uh, shit, I just forgot what we were talking about. Um, huh. Yeah, that's another thing. I'm getting to that age. Anyways.
Yeah, I feel like I'm already there. I'm severe ADHD and and
I
lack of sleep too, because it's like I work all day and then kids till 8:30, and
yeah.
then I start comics. And I
Oh
start
yeah.
making comics from like 8:30 to like midnight or 1:30.
Yeah, I couldn't hold those hours for very long. Like I will fall asleep at any moment in my life now. Any moment. I'm not joking. I yesterday, or was it today, I was talking to my wife. She was sitting on the bed, and I was kind of laying across the foot of the bed, and I was talking to her, and then next thing I know, I went, and she goes, "You just fell asleep like and then you were talking and you just was like, yeah, okay. I guess it's a. I don't know if maybe I've developed some sort of mild narcolepsy, but it will happen instantly if I just let it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll hit our final question, and we'll see how you. Do you? I was watching, maybe it was a TikTok or something, but some guy was talking about the difference between his upbringing in a foreign country, he didn't specify, and moving to the U.S. And he said people in the U.S. will go to a yard sale or a flea market, and they'll just buy the thing, and they won't haggle. So the question is, would you or have you ever haggle over a price at a yard sale or a flea market?
Oh, no, not at a yard sale or a flea market, but I have haggled. I think, yeah, like in America, I don't haggle.
Mm,
But um, like I went to the in Turkey, I went to the Grand Bazaar, and it's like if they see that you're an American, they're like, that jacket's $500. I'm like, no, that jacket's not 500. That's 100.
yeah,
That's like that's $80. I wouldn't pay 100. And so you do. It's like culturally what you do. But in
yeah,
America, I haven't done it. But like
yeah.
yeah, like when you're in another country where that's like what you're supposed to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, I absolutely have. But I don't know. In America, I don't know like what that person's upbringing is. So
Hmm.
I tend to err on like if it's too expensive, I'm I don't really want to haggle
Yeah.
because I don't want to be I want to like lowball something. I mean, I have haggled on for stuff on like on Craigslist and stuff.
Hmm.
And I've had people try to haggle me, and that's very annoying too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was selling uh yeah, I was selling a gun. In Texas you could just sell
Mm.
guns. You don't need a license. And this guy was like, "Hey, like I'll pay like 390 for it or something like that." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And he's like, "Meet me up here." And so it's like I drove like 25 minutes, and he's like, "How about 350?" And it's like, bro, I drove out here. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like we said a certain number, and then I drove out here, and
Yeah.
then you haggle me? Come on, dude.
The setting your mind to get in your vehicle and drive somewhere and meet a stranger is the handshake in online dealing. That's like, yeah,
Yeah,
we've agreed. There's nothing after that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, insane.
Chris Fitz says, I can't haggle as a buyer and seller. I always feel bad arguing to reduce or raise the price. I think that's my thing is I don't think like you said you went to you go to a foreign country and that's what they do and I think you'd miss out if you didn't.
Yeah,
That's
it's like part of the experience. It's like you're putting on a character or whatever. You
mhm,
you you buy into that. But
yeah.
here, I feel like it's not as common. And then also like people don't just try to rip you off with the price.
Hmm.
It's like in another country, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, this jacket's $500." It's like there's no way that jacket's It's like that. I mean, that happened to me specifically. It was like they start so high so you can get
Yeah.
to the right price, but I
Hmm.
feel like in America it's like it's small, like those little windows are smaller, and so it's like, is it worth the
Yeah.
haggle? Is it worth, like, I don't want to lowball someone, I don't want to insult someone.
Yeah, I guess haggled with myself at one point higher because I went to a yard sale and at that time I was kind of trying to build up a weight set, so I
Yeah,
could work out and this little kid he had two 25s and then two 40 pounds and I needed the 40-pound weights and I was like, oh, how much for these? And his dad says, looks at him, and he's doing that. It's your turn. It's your time to take responsibility, but kind of thing. And he's like, what do you say? And he's like, I don't know, like $20 for both. And I'm like, you know, I got, I'll give you 30 because these are actually worth a
Yeah, I was
whole
gonna
lot
say
more.
they're about $1 a pound.
Yeah,
Is
and
like
I said,
that's like a going rate for used weights. It could
yeah.
be $1 a pound. You know.
So and I was like, I just like I knew what he could have gotten, and so I actually felt bad for him and gave him a few bucks more. And then I told him I was leaving. Those things are worth a lot more than you want to sell them for, like the last two weights. So make sure you get a good fair price out of them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. I don't think I could go to a yard sale or a flea market. A flea market from a few years ago, definitely not. Nowadays, I feel like I could, because we got, everyone's looking on the internet and finding out, how much they think they can sell the thing for
Yeah.
based on what they've seen on eBay or whatever. And it's like, no, I want to go and, find some grandma who, just sells old jeans she finds somewhere. And it's like, oh, cool. A pair of, really great Levi's are there for a few bucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, going to a yard sale and just, you know, they got 50 cents on this DVD. I don't need the DVD that much, even for, to knock down a price of like whatever, this old couple is selling it for. Like,
Sometimes I will. So I mean, I sell single issue comics for $10 at events, which is like pretty standard. Like if you go lower than that, like the guy to the right or the left of you is kind of gonna get pissed because
yeah,
that's like a standard. But if I see someone just like really eyeing something and like I get a sense that like they would bite if I like threw in something else, I do that. I mean, it's like it's not like I'm haggling. It's more like, oh well, I'm seeing you look at this, and I'm getting that like a $10 floppy is like too much for you. So how about this? So
yeah.
I do, or it's like I buy two get one free or whatever. Buy one get one half off.
Yeah, it'll also build them up to not just if they like the comic, that's great, but also they'll be like, and the guy who made it is really cool, and it brings them back as a fan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope.
Yeah. But we are wrapping up on, actually we just passed the hour, and so we'll go ahead and start wrapping up, and just remind everyone where they can find your stuff. And if you're out there, go check out. Like I said, I have it linked in the description in the chat. So.
Cool. So yeah, I'm available on Twitter and Instagram. I'm not on Twitter a ton. I don't have it on my phone, but I'm at Chappy Zach on social media sites. You can find Dino Nights. I think if you just Google like Dino Nights Kickstarter, you can click notify me on launch, and they'll send you an email like as soon as it launches.
I'm gonna put that up while we talk so people can see it.
Yeah. And that's you click this button and it'll send you an email as soon as we launch, and we should be launching next month, June 3rd. I have it in review, and I basically have everything like ready to go, like the whole campaign's ready to rock and roll. So yeah, check it out. At Chappy Zach. Just Google it, I guess. You can probably find it.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Like I said, I definitely want to look into Dino Night. It looks really fun. It does. But we will go ahead and start wrapping up, and hopefully next time we'll have Dio back, and that you and him both feel better. I am spent in a completely different way. And tomorrow's I got to get up and do my Sunday chores. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up and say goodnight. So thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. And we will see you later if I can find the button.